I am Andrew Gottlieb, the Executive Director of the Association to Preserve Cape Cod. APCC is the Cape's largest and longest existing environmental advocacy and education organization. We work on issues of concern across the region of Cape Cod. We've been around since 1968. So the mission of APCC is to help preserve and protect the environmental well-being of Cape Cod, both for current and future generations. Our programs and our scope and breadth runs from Bourne to Provincetown. Our focus changes periodically depending on what's going on. In today's world, our primary focus is on protection and enhancement of water quality. In particular, focus has been around reducing nutrient enrichment of our waters, primarily through controlling three primary sources. Septic effluent, primary means of wastewater disposal on the Cape is through backyard septic systems. Those have degraded our marine environment and our freshwater environment. And so fixing that problem and helping towns get the resources necessary to address that problem has been a primary focus of ours. We're working a lot these days on encouraging and creating financial tools necessary to enable towns, land trusts, and local entities to preserve the remaining portion of the land of Cape Cod that is neither developed nor protected. 60,000 acres of prime habitat that will go a long way towards determining what our environmental future is. Doing a lot of work on that. We are very heavily invested in projects that restore the functioning of wetland resources, both coastal salt marshes, freshwater wetlands, and doing a lot on reconverting bogs that are no longer producing cranberries back to natural wetland systems. And then lastly, I would say our other area of discipline is in promoting good land use practices that homeowners can implement so that they can have their yards look and feel the way they want them to feel, but do it in a way that works with as opposed to against nature. We have active monitoring of a number of saltwater marsh areas where we're either planning to do restoration work or have done restoration work, doing the research necessary to understand what current conditions are so that we have a baseline to evaluate how well the system responded to the intervention. And then for projects where we've had interventions, we're monitoring to see how quickly those resources recover. We have a 9-month-a-year freshwater monitoring program where we're looking at 50 ponds in collaboration with Barnstable County, understand water quality in our ponds. We can do some broad characterizations of what's going on there. We run a very robust cyanobacteria monitoring program in our freshwater ponds, 150-odd ponds across the Cape, where we look for presence or absence of cyanobacteria, where we find presence in sufficient density that creates the possibility of toxic releases from the cyanobacteria. We have an online mapping tool that we notify the public about the presence of those things and advise them on restricting or limiting their access and utilization of those water bodies. We have a few hundred volunteers that work with us on a variety of programs and efforts, everything from helping us with office work to being out in the field. The vast majority of the cyanobacteria samples that we collect are collected through engagement with volunteers. So we have an extensive training program with volunteers. They allow us to have a much broader scope program. Our baseline water quality work that we're doing with the county on the 50 ponds, every one of our samples is taken with a volunteer. Volunteers are at the core of the annual herring counting that we do as an organization in the spring. That tends to focus on the spring and the spring migration. We have dozens of people that are out in the field counting. So volunteers are a really important part of extending the work that we can do. So for anybody who's interested in learning anything about any of our programs, cyanobacteria, sign up for alerts, volunteer, just become more environmentally aware, visit our website at apcc.org. While we're still relatively small, we have been growing. I think our growth is in response to a desire from the people who live, work, and recreate on Cape Cod to preserve the nature of the environment that drew them here in the first place. And, the threats to our environment are significant and real. The destiny of this is not preordained, and how it comes out has a lot to do with what we do to be active, to take common sense steps to preserve the environment, and that's what we're all about.